Welcome to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, that's crazy. I feel like everyone is new to the channel. But anyway, thank you for watching. And I'm gonna try and make this a series, okay? Because I have one of these videos where I talk about what I watched in a month back in like May 2021. And I love going back to that video just to see what I had. You know, what was I thinking? What was my vibe? I was vibe checking myself essentially. And I just want to keep doing these because they're fun, they're easy, and I like to keep recount of what I've watched, what I like seeing, because I forget, right? Because like I have all these apps, right? Like I have Letterboxd, I have TV Showtimes, like track what I've watched, but like they're kind of shit sometimes and I don't always write reviews. So let me just put on all of my opinions. These aren't really gonna be reviews. I think reviews should be a little bit more comprehensive than these are, but these are just sort of recounts, putting my diary on the internet for other people for some reason. But yeah, I thought I'd do it anyway. So the Percy Jackson show is a bit of a disappointment, and I do not say that lightly. I really didn't like it. I know that I am not really, you know, the target audience for the show. However, I refuse to believe that children's shows should be this bad. Especially because, you know, I've watched a lot of children's shows. I've been a child, you know, and I've rewatched things that I've watched as a child, and they're not all bad. The Percy Jackson movie isn't bad, because it's one thing to be bad adaptation, right? But it's an entirely different thing to be a bad piece of art entirely. However, I think the show is bad because they have really odd people running it. I want to make a whole video on that Percy Jackson show, but there's a lot to say, I have a lot of opinions, and I think it's gonna need a lot of research and rereading and rewatching. I don't really think I have the time or the effort to do that right now. And yeah, my main thing is just that they need better people on their staff. They need to get the fuck out of the volume, okay? They need to get out of the volume and start filming on location because everything is lit like shit. And they need somebody else running the show because people who do run the show are really not equipped for the tone. I think that's the issue. And I have no idea why they were chosen. They used to make black sails. Like, what was the connection? I want to tell you that I really liked Killers of the Flower Moon, but I can't. There was something missing. I think something in the writing made me feel a little lost when I was watching it. I think you get to the second act and moving into the third act, it starts kind of losing me because I start asking, where are we going with this? Who is the main character and why are we doing this? And whilst the pacing I think is fine, I just felt like there wasn't a sense of connection to any of the main characters. The film seems to not want the protagonist to be Leo, but it does seem to look like it is him. And then the film falls away from developing him, leaving the film feeling a little emotionally flat at times. The acting from Lily Gladstone is obviously very good. You know, I want her to win. I think that the Osage people have the most connection towards them, which is clearly the point. But with Leo and things like that, I don't really understand what was going on there. I don't really get what a lot of the second and third acts had going for them that made people really like the film. I do wish I would have got the 3-hour experience where I'd be able to keenly watch it if I was in a cinema, but generally I still think there was something off about this movie, and I think that was in the script. It looks great. Shoemaker is a phenomenal editor. She always kind of brings her A game. And the acting, you know, all of the people in this were just decent at the very, very least because, you know, look at the names. But like there was something that wasn't present here, and that was really, really holding this back for me. Barbarian was one of the excellent horror movies that came out in 2022 that people really raved about. I never watched it in cinemas, so I just caught it on Prime recently, and the people were right. I watched this with a group of friends and we had a blast. It was the right balance, in my opinion, of suspenseful and funny that a classic horror movie has to become an inside joke. So none of us can now stop referencing this film. And the writing and the direction, I think, here work cohesively to create a really good time. The people behind me in the cinema would not stop talking when I was watching The Iron Claw, and I cannot tell you how vexed I became throughout the runtime of this. It was such an invigorating drama, but I was having drama of my own. Okay, this film honestly leaves me a little bit confused about what wrestling even is, but I still love my time with it. It's pretty clear cut, but it follows a lengthy story, and I think they focused well on most of the characters whilst clearly showing that Zac Efron is indeed the protagonist. Now, Zac Efron, just like, wow. For a long time, it was just me and the guy who made this video that were raving about how good of an actor Efron is. But now we're a movement. He's truly incredible in this, and I think it's snubbed by the fact that this release date was a little odd. But anyway, the North remembers, and we love you, Zac Efron. I really hope he does another dramatic movie soon. I know he's got that weird John Cena movie. There are these pictures of John Cena in a skirt and high heels circling, and everyone's like, where is that from? Why is he in that? And then we didn't get the movie for ages. But it's a movie that has Zac Efron in it, and hopefully it's good. It's probably not gonna be great, But, you know, regardless, I still hope Zac Efron stays employed. You know, he keeps the movie. He keeps a check, honestly. Zone of Interest is chilling from start to finish. I don't think I'll ever forget this film. Glazer brings both maximalistic and naturalistic filmmaking together to create a stark and threatening atmosphere. Blending them both in this way, for me, was spectacular. I loved it. I think humanizing fascists is so important. They are not far away. They are here and they are terrifying and they should disgust you. They are humans, they are not fake monsters. They are humans who act and believe these vile opinions, and you are not immune. Not everyone who isn't wholly good is grotesque, and we need to understand that. And I think the way in which this film stylistically chooses to show a story is really interesting and good for the type of story it's telling. I really like this film. It did make me feel a little bit sick at times though, and I think that is definitely a trigger warning going into this. It made me feel horrific, but it was necessary. I then watched Migration because I watched both Iron Claw and Zone of Interest on the same day, and then I was going to watch the next movie that I'm going to talk about in the cinema as well. So in between I just had like a bunch of free time because I couldn't get a screening like right after each other. So I went to watch Migration instead. This movie is like the worst version of many, many other movies, and the whole time I was watching it, I was like, that father, the bird father, is Kumail Nanjiani. I was like, that is just Kumail Nanjiani speaking. You can't hide him as a bird. Like, his voice is very distinct. Like, it has very specific inflections. The last movie that I saw that same day after Migration was American Fiction. I really liked this film. The writing was fun and the acting is very good. I found the movie to be very entertaining and funny, though I'm not sure this is saying much by the end. Like, the movie about taking a stance kind of doesn't take one. And I know that's the point, but for an upbeat satire, I don't know if it feels steady in doing that. I don't know if it's good enough to not really have a point. I am a sucker for a second chance romance. The slow build of maybe getting what you want will perhaps always be one of my favourite tropes. Though I'm not sure I loved that here in One Day as much. I'm not sure that I believe that Dexter deserved Emma, and that made the show a little bit unbearable at times. When they first get together, there's a sense of catharsis, but I'm not sure I wanted them to stay together. And obviously, considering the way this ends, that feels ridiculous. I also hate colourblind casting, and considering this was a very tumultuous time for people of colour, like, you know, it's the late 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, like, the ease that comes with erasing the fact that Emma is South Asian just feels very silly. I liked seeing a brown woman be loved and be a romantic love interest, but to be played around for about 10 episodes without a real consideration of her background, especially for a white love interest, I feel like the love that this show desperately wants isn't there. Like, I can't feel it. I don't want to. Next thing I watched is Upgraded. I also watched this with friends, and as someone from London, there's something a little bit unserious about seeing this unfold in London and not understanding how the places work. This is definitely a bit more of a workplace story with a romance subplot rather than a romance story with a work subplot, as the marketing kind of wants you to believe. I enjoyed it though. I'm not a corporate wage slave defender, but Camila Mendes should have definitely been fired and shipped back to the US, okay? For what she does to her company, that is definitely fireable. So when watching Anatomy of a Fall, you have to think, now this is a script. Okay, it's one for the ages. I really hope it wins Best Script even. It's very good, it's very tight, it's brimming with astonishing dialogue, and all of the acting is amazing as well. From Sandra Hüller, I think that's how you say her name, the hot lawyer, the dog, the son, everyone was unbelievable. The pacing somewhere near the middle kind of drags, I will say. All the stuff before the court scene did have me a little rumbled because I was like, you know, droning on a little bit. But I think we could have gone to the court a little like faster than we did. However, the minute you get to court, excellent. And the guy who plays the opposition prosecution judge, or no, lawyer, incredible, just incroyable. It's always interesting to see what streaming services will and won't promote. Lulu Wang's Expats is on Amazon Prime, and they have not done a very good job talking about it. I think it was remarkable. I loved every moment of it, and I think it has some of the most nuanced and controlled writing and directing about class and race that I've ever seen. It is so intricately crafted, and it weaves in so many compelling narratives. The portrayal of this intersection is done so masterfully that I just have to recommend this. This is the main thing that I think I watched this month that I would recommend. Aside from class and race, I think gender is very important to this. Here we see a lot of differences between women and how they're allowed to process things and the different ways that they do process things. And we also see different types of women process things. I know I've said that a lot, but it makes sense when you see it, and it's just so good. Again, all of that comes back to the class aspect of the show. That's what makes the differences so stark. I do, however, think this show feels like it's dangling in midair a little bit, especially when it ends. There is a mystery plot that runs throughout the show that is a little stagnant past maybe the first 3 or 4 episodes, but regardless, the way in which Lulu Wang is able to bring out empathy and vitriol for the same characters makes the way that the other writers who have ever, you know, discussed identity politics in this way look quite frivolous, in my opinion. When I was watching Theatre Camp, all I could think about is how this was an absolutely stunning little romp. I had a great time with this. I love mockumentary style films and movies, okay? I'm a big American Vandal enjoyer. They have such a modern yet classic flair to them. I'm always in awe of Jimmy Chatro, I think that's how I say his name. He can play the same character for the rest of his life if he would like to, and I will be there to watch him, okay? Molly Gordon director will debut Slay, and additionally, before I watched this, I didn't really understand why people were like, I want the song in this movie to get nominated for an Oscar. I'm like, it's just children singing. But no, like it's good. Like, it is a smash hit. Okay, double platinum on my Spotify playlist. Rustin really wasn't anything to write home about. I only really watched it because Common Domingo was nominated for an Oscar for it, and it's pretty much just like average biopic fare. It feels good because, you know, they get everything done and Martin Luther King is there and he's doing stuff and Rustin is involved. So we get to hear his story and that's great, but like, do I care that much? Not really. It's fun when you watch it, but it doesn't go beyond that. It's kind of just whatever. It paints MLK kind of badly, which I think is very interesting. I think that nuance was more interesting than what was happening with Common Domingo. Like, I think they could have gone more deep. Like, it's trying to be interesting, but it's very surface level. I think he's quite good in this, but I probably wouldn't have nominated him at all, honestly. Then I watched El Conde. I'm just gonna call it that. I'll put it on screen so you'll know what it is. But it was nominated for Best Cinematography at the Oscars this year, and it's about Pinochet. And in this, Pinochet is a vampire. The movie is in black and white, which allows for some absolutely gorgeous scenes, things that you wouldn't really think were as powerful in colour. The black and white is an interesting conscious choice and allows for a mysterious and playful tone here. However, I know nearly nothing about Pinochet aside from the fact that he was kind of a brutal politician, dictator type. So whilst the basic premise was comprehensible, I think there were some ideas about this that flew over my head by not knowing it in more depth. I think it's quite tongue-in-cheek, considering, you know, the subject matter, but I think ultimately it is able to pull it off because of the stylistic choices, like the cinematography, and even more, honestly, because of the music. It makes it a little bit more gentle than perhaps what Pinochet deserves. I didn't really go into Society of Snow expecting much. I knew it was a plane crash film, I knew it was in Spanish, and I knew that the main guy that we follow is really hot. However, it's pretty boring. It's slow, none of the characters are massively developed, and anytime anyone died, I really couldn't care. Like, I couldn't bring myself to it. Obviously, we get into a bit of cannibalism, but that's nothing, you know, it's really not very expressive compared to something like Yellow Jackets. So there was a real lack of mystery to the cruelty or the barbarity of the situation. Overall, there is some decent acting and some marvellous expansive shots of the mountains, but that's all I really liked. It was kind of a bore. I'm only in the process of watching Mr. and Mrs. Smith right now, but I thought I'd talk about it anyway. I like it, it is fun, I love the locations. I love that they're on location for most things, it's very pretty. The cinematography is very clear, serene, crisp, which I think suits the tone and the style of the show very well. I like the acting, I like them, but I'm not super convinced by their chemistry. Everyone on Twitter is like, we love it, it's amazing. So I was really taken in by people who were raving about it. They have palpable tension as a couple on screen, though I think it's more awkwardness than sexual or love. The script is generally what I was expecting it to be. It hasn't thrown me for a loop in any way. The show is very enjoyable, but I just don't think it's particularly enthralling in any way. Like, it's not bad, it's just not great. And I will leave you on one thing that is a lie, actually. So I didn't watch this in February, I watched this on March 1st, but it's pretty much still February to me, and that is Dune 2. What a phenomenal spectacle. The cinematography, my god. I mean, it's what he's known for, isn't it? It looks unbelievable. Like, it looks, you know, like Denis Villeneuve. He made it, you know, it's got his touch all over it. It's an incredible show, you know. The scope that this covers, insane. We go from being pretty small and tight in the desert to like absolutely enormous. And the journey that we take with these characters is definitely one that will be remembered forever. It's an incredible, fantastical sci-fi story, and that is a genre that I've always enjoyed. Therefore, I will always give this a little bit more credit. It's always going to be something that resounds with me more than it perhaps does with other people. I thought the fight choreography was amazing. Austin Butler, in my opinion, really stole every moment he was in, with his face, with his big bald head. The acting, unreal from everyone. I don't know what I'm gonna say, really, like, I'm gonna talk about this more, probably. I'm gonna watch it again. It'll be in the March wrap up as well, okay? This is just insane. I felt like I was riding a high when I was watching this. All of the characters felt visceral and poignant, and I wanna be back there already. I do, however, you know, think that some of the script is a little disjointed. There were some parts that felt odd. We jump from victory to victory really quickly. I don't know if it's just because it's all encased into the same plot. It just feels a little broken in a way that I don't like. But because of the size of this film, I kind of just want to let that go for now until I see it again. But I do think some of the last act and the grandiosity of it is lost because of the writing that precedes it. So not that the third act's writing is bad, but I think some of Act 2's writing falls short and doesn't help Act 3 have the large presence that it perhaps demands. Though I will get around to seeing it again and see if that's true. That is everything that I watched this month. That was a really close shot. But yeah, thank you for watching this. Tell me what you watched this month. See if your opinions align with mine. Tell me what you thought about Dune 2. That's really what I want to know. I'm riding that high after Dune 2. I only saw it yesterday, so it's March 2nd today. It's March 1st yesterday. And I want to know what people think about Dune 2. I really love Dune 2. I'm so ready to read Dune. I don't know if I'll get around to that, but that's gonna be a crazy, crazy ride. I think I'm gonna commit to it. I think I'm gonna commit to reading Dune. But yeah, that's everything that I watched. Tell me what you thought. And like my video if you liked the video, subscribe if you liked the video, and have a great day and stay safe.